call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals monthly November the 7th, 2023 regular meeting. Roll call, please.
Kevin Skaggs.
Kathy Stallworth.
Bill Barkhalter.
Wes Summers. Okay, we could be in some deep trouble here tonight. I cannot find my glasses. Picked up my wallet and that was good, but I didn't get my glasses, but okay.
You want to try mine, Mr. Chairman?
No, I'm good. Unless, reading glasses?
Right here, there they are.
Wait, and I'll see. I know this thing by heart, so I shouldn't have to worry about it. Okay, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 3rd, 2023. Anybody have any changes to them?
I don't.
Kathy, I know you got
I
something.
did not see any typos. I didn't see any verbs that were wrong.
Okay. Well, do I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any changes? Having here none, we will declare these approved. Confirmation of the agenda, I don't see anything we have to add to it, so we'll move on.
Reading glasses.
Oh, reading glasses, that looks like mine.
Whose
You
seat
sure you
this
didn't-
is, the city councilman, they were reading glasses.
That's right, okay. Item number 5 on the agenda, regular meeting agenda tonight is variance number ZV 23-011. It's a request by North Augusta Jiffy Lube for a variance from the minimum lot frontage requirements of Table 3.3, dimensional standards of Article 3, zoning districts in the North Augusta Development Code. The application affects the subdivision of an existing automobile service and repair station located at 140 Laurel Lake Drive, tax parcel number 010-18-08-001, approximately 0.42 acres zone general commercial and within the highway corridor overlay district. We'll have a public hearing and then we'll have consideration, and what this really is an continuation of something we started back at the last meeting and we tabled it to this meeting, if I'm not correct?
Yes, sir,
Continued
you were
it to
correct.
this meeting. Okay. So with that, I will open the public hearing. What can you tell us about it that's different from last time?
Well, Mr. Chairman, as you said, this is a continuation. It is, this is the parcel as, basically the variance is to allow it not to have any street frontage. Last month, y'all were concerned about the ingress and because the back parcel doesn't have any street right-of-way. Y'all had questions about the right to use the road that accesses the property and the maintenance of that road. And the applicant has given you the easement, that the right-of-way and easement across the parcels that's been recorded in Book 4407, page 1995 through 2004 at the Aiken County RMC office, so that you have information as to that easement. The other easement would be across the parcels, and at the current time there's not an easement there because the same property owner owns both of them. If any time in the future he would decide to sell the back parcel, they've given you an example of what those easements would look like to give access to Parcel 1. Parcel 1 has been developed as a Jiffy Lube. Parcel 2 is for, I believe it was Diablo's that started and the construction stopped. My understanding is that Jiffy Lube would like all of their franchise holders to have their Jiffy Lubes on a lot by itself, so that if anything ever happened There's not other stuff tied up in that. So that's kind of where we're at. Any questions for me?
What about the sign out front?
Good question. The sign out front, as y'all may remember, there was a variance there, and that is going to make that sign out front be non-conforming because it will have a Diablo's advertising on it. What staff is recommending is to blank that sign off, the Diablos, to blank that off until they move forward with the actual construction of the restaurant. I don't know, the owner's here so he can answer that question. And then at that time, they could come back and ask to do an off-site sign. That's going to create, but because it's off-site, when you put that property line, it's going to be off-site, so that will make the sign non-conforming.
Okay.
And right now, we have a sign that's advertising a business at the location, and that business isn't there.
We have signs all over this town that I know has been approved by the planning commission. For an example would be Martintown Plaza or whatever they call it now, where there's 8 or 10 businesses on that sign. Why do we have to make them come back later to put another sign someplace else when both of them could still fit on that one sign?
They could. The issue with the sign is off-site signage is prohibited. Right now, that sign is on the parcel where the business would be located, but that business never developed. We approved a sign based on the permit to build, and they didn't build it. The shopping center type sign they're all located on that same parcel.
But if let me finish this thought. If we the city tell them to block off that sign, and then Diablo's or Joe Blows or whoever comes into that back piece and wants a sign, he's got no place to put it out front to advertise on Highway 25.
That's correct. He would have to come back to y'all and get permit, ask for a variance. That is, yeah, that's part of subdividing the lot out.
I understand that, but we can't authorize a sign to be placed on the right of way.
That's correct.
And somebody else will own the property.
They would have.
Front,
They would
he
have.
has no place to go.
He has to negotiate with the property owner, whoever that happens to be. Right now, remember, parcel 1 and parcel 2 is going to be owned by the same
I
person.
understand that, but I'm gonna go buy parcel 2, and I want a sign. Where am I gonna put it?
You'll put it on your parcel.
Where nobody can see it.
You buy highway right-of-way property for visibility. When you buy it in the back, and this is what I've heard a planning commissioner say, you should not expect the same visibility for your signage. He still has the option to come to y'all and request a variance, and if you say he can have the sign out there, the planning department's a happy camper.
But we still, this commission still can't say you can have a sign and put it on the highway right away.
That's
That's
correct.
the only place he's got to go.
No, sir.
Where's he got to go?
He would work with that parcel 1 owner and get a sign easement. Happens all the time.
That's something I don't like about that, but okay.
But he would need to come to us to see if he could put a sign there before he tried to negotiate with parcel 1 owner, because if they said no, then it's, he
Actually,
wouldn't buy, I mean, before he even bought the property.
correct. And he would need to come, negotiate that during the sale of parcel 2, and then come to y'all
Right.
after he's got permission from the property owner to
Right.
place it on the property. And basically, the way the sign's constructed, it's just, it would be replacing that blank.
Okay, how about, well, let's get all the information, and then I'll come back to that sign. I wanted to ask the question, I'll come back to the sign. I've got an idea how we can handle that. Any questions of Tommy on,
I have one, and I think I asked a version of this at last meeting. So the minimum lot frontage requirement, I think you said it was important because of access to the property from a public road, is that what you said?
That is the theory behind it. Now, the access to parcel one, he doesn't have any access there from a public road.
So, but I guess the city had no issue with that.
Correct.
Okay.
Because he had road frontage. And that's what the code says. It doesn't say you have to have a curb cut on that road.
Okay.
Bill, did you have a question or thought?
Yeah, I had some confusion. I tried to read through that either sample or proposed easement, mutual easement, which I understood, and I thought that would be okay, but it keeps talking about parcels 1, 2, and 3, and I got to what you have on the board initially, and I said, where is parcel 3? I didn't find this until the end of the thing, and I realized it's a little different than what I think the variance tonight is about. But
Correct.
Anyway, I just found that confusing. But I think the proposed mutual easement affects those three parcels that are on that sort of triangular, the whole thing. So, if so anyway,
Any other questions from Tommy? Would the developer like a petitioner like to speak to us, please? Come down. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
State your name and address.
My name is Lance Cheeley. My address is 1104 Campbellton Drive, North Augusta, South Carolina, 29841.
You say 1104 Campbellton?
Yes, sir.
It's in mine in your neighborhood.
You
Welcome
probably
to the
saw my
neighborhood if you hadn't been that
my
long.
four little rascals running around last week, door to door.
What can you tell us about it, sir?
Yes, sir. So I've been involved with the project since the very beginning. Mr. Lamoth is here. He's the owner of the local Jiffy Lube franchises. He and I have been working together for years and years. I was not here at the last meeting. I was out of the country, and I apologize for that. And would love to come tonight and answer a lot of the questions. I did watch the video from the last time to kind of hear what you guys' concerns were, and I'm prepared to walk through all of those concerns.
Okay, if you would, please.
Yeah, if they. In summary, my understanding of the concerns were the access easement that gets us from Laurel Lake Drive to this property, how we would get from the access drive that was just described to parcel 1 across parcel 2, and then additionally the sign and what we would do to get that thing tidied up and put a bow on it. So I'll say, and I have references here to the staff report with page numbers if you guys want to follow along. I'll again summarize just a bit and stop me if I'm, making it too simple. But the original parcel was owned by McLaurel LLC. So that's the whole big triangle. In that original process, they broke the large triangle parcel into 3 parcels. Parcels 1 is the McDonald's parcel. Parcel 2 is the parcel that the Jiffy Lube and Diablos are on, and parcel 3 is the parcel that the Waffle House is on. So when you look at the first easement there, or the first document there, that's page 22 of the staff report, declaration of reciprocal easements. Those are the 3 parcels 1, 2, and 3 that are described. There's also on that reference document, page 32 of the recorded plat, that is the one that identifies the 3 parcels. It also has easement 1, which is a 40-foot access egress easement, and easement 2, which is another 40-foot access egress easement. easement 1 covers the portion that is just behind the McDonald's. That's likely a result that McDonald's was the first person in the area. They wanted to be able to isolate their responsibility to just their property area. And then you have parcel 2, which was there in the advent easement 2, that was there in the advent of development of parcel 2. So that's the kind of where we picked up when Mr. Lamoth acquired the property. So a lot of the questions as far as access, egress, who's going to maintain utilities, all those things are spelled out in that agreement, ranging from pages 22 to 28. I'll highlight a couple of those. Page 22 is where we get Article 1 is where we get the access egress portion of it. So that's allowing traffic in and out of all 3 of these parcels via that easement 1 and 2 that's delineated on the plat. Page 23, Article 2 does the same thing for utilities in that area. Page 23, Article 3, it deals with the maintenance of parcel 2. So that's who's taking care of this parcel and some of the detention pond that was originally on the parcel. Parcel 4 says everybody has to maintain insurance over their parcel to indemnify the rest of the owners of parcel 1, 2, and 3. And this was another item that came up last time. Who is responsible for maintenance of this access drive? That's covered on page 25, Article 5, under the title Maintenance of Access Drive and Detention Pond. And those delineations are shared, very well described in that document. McDonald's just takes care of their portion. The owners of the other 2 parcels are responsible for that second half of easement 2, that original easement from Laurel Lake Drive to the question parcel. And then on page 27, just a couple more articles of note. We have Article 8.3.2 and 8.3.4, which basically grant these things in continuity. So Article 8.3.2 requires the grantee of any parcel of these, when any one of these transfers, to assume all obligations that were originally under that parcel. So if McDonald's were to sell to another franchisee, they would be under the same binding agreement that was prescribed from the beginning. And then parcel 8.4 actually, kind of proceeded to talk about what we're talking about now, and that's successors it deals with successors and the consolidation and reconfiguration of parcel 2 and parcel 3. Benefits and limitations shall apply. So basically, they already anticipated what happens if we break this into another 2 pieces or 3 pieces or however the case may be. All those assigns, all those obligations and rights go along with both pieces. So in that legally recorded agreement with the plat and the cross-access agreements that exist, the maintenance of the road, the access to the utilities, who's paying for those things, are all spelled out in that existing recorded document. So then we come to addressing the ownership of the road, the maintenance of the road, those things I think you'll find there. The access across these 2 parcels is where you see kind of after page 32 are reference documents that we have filed in other situations. As Tommy said, Jiffy Lube Corporate has asked that we kind of clarify some of these ownership things. And those are actually reference documents from a previous one that we did. We had to do this in Richmond County and Columbia County as well to clarify some of these dual ownerships. So with that said, the last item of addressing from the maintenance and access agreement, easement, and the cross parcel agreements between the 2 parcels that Mr. Lamoth currently owns. The last item is the sign. We're prepared to take that additional sign down to clarify that if that is the recommended path. We'd also entertain anything that Mr. Lamoth currently owns both. He could deed it to himself or whatever. If you guys want to wrap this up in one bow and go ahead and say that sign can stay, and the owner agrees with both of those, that we really do not have a strong preference on the sign at this time. If it's easier for this body to say we can do what you're asking to do, you take the sign down, we'll go that route. If it's easier for you guys to avoid a variance in the future and award it now, that's fine with us too. Well, we were just really, under some
It's my intention on the sign that we'll add a condition to the variance that the people that buy, if and when somebody puts something in that back section, they can use the existing space on the existing sign.
I think that's very fair, and we would have no qualm with that.
And that way, that person would always have access, whoever it is, to Highway 25.
Understood.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions you guys
I
have?
just want to make sure of one thing, because I did read all this, but I'm not an attorney. And I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this, that if and when the parcel behind Jiffy Lube is parcel 2, I guess, is sold, if and when, that they are held to the same requirements that, the maintenance, the utilities, all that sort of thing. And that may well have been what you said in there, but like I said,
Yes, ma'am.
cleary-eyed.
I am no lawyer either, but that's why I did, as I was reading through, want to point out specifically that page 27, 8.4, it does describe, in my understanding as a layman who deals with this stuff, not without a law degree, that
We got one.
the intent there is, if you cut this into 1,000,000 pieces, every one of them
That's what I thought I
has to
understood. I
buy,
just
has to
wanna make
do
sure.
the responsibilities that were from the original 3. And that is my understanding, and I thought that would be of great consequence in this case.
You sort of lost me on the page numbers, though. I couldn't find any corresponding numbers to what you were talking
That was in the staff report. Those are the staff report page numbers as I read them. So I don't know if that was the best way to do it, but I assume that we,
Bill, have you got any questions, sir?
The only question I have is, on this drawing, is the center line that says GT, is that a driveway?
Yes, that is the driveway. The GT abbreviation is for Great Trap. So that's a storm sewer that is running down the middle of that
It looked
access
like
drive.
it, just the way it came off the existing access way. I thought it was, but, so consequently, if the parcel 2 is sold to somebody, it'll be subject to that driveway that goes over to parcel 1, correct?
Yes, and that's what those additional 2 cross-access agreements are. Typically, what we have been requested to file, and what any owner who would likely be buying that second parcel or whatever that case would be, they would want access to any utilities that come across that either feed through their property or feed from somebody else's property. So one agreement handles all the utilities, and the other handles the access and egress. So, if you're an owner who's looking at parcel 1, you really kind of first thing your real estate attorney is going to look at is, do I have the right to get from there to here? And so those things are not only things that are quite reasonable requests from you guys to want to see, they're a necessity if you ever want to, have this parcel trade hands. So those things are well accounted for, and again, we've done those in a few jurisdictions in this effort.
To summarize in my simple mind, the current agreement to get access to the property is good. There's no changes needed there. Then you would need 2 cross-access agreements, one for utilities and the other is just to get to access to parcel 1.
That is correct.
Hey. All right, thank you.
And these 2 lengthy documents that are County of Berkeley, those are just for samples, right?
Yes, those are samples. We would draw up a
Cross-access.
Yep, we
utilities.
would draw up a set of documents that refer specifically to this plat with these parcel numbers, areas, things like that. So, we would go to that effort pretty much immediately upon an approval of this, and obviously we would record those with the plat.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak for or against this project while we're here? Okay. Anybody have any other questions of Tommy? Then I will declare the public hearing portion adjourned. And now we take up the consideration. And as always, there are 10 things that we have to find for. We have to find for them, each one in the affirmative. If we come to one that we cannot find in affirmative, then the variance is not granted, and we stop the process at that point. I will read them, and so that everybody understands, and then we will take them up one at a time. A variance may be granted in an individual case of unnecessary hardship if the Board of Zoning Appeals makes and explains in writing the following. Number one is unnecessary hardship exists. Number two, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. Number three is the conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Number four, because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And number five, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale, and the creation or potential for the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. Number six, we're not going to handle, that's the sign. We're not having anything to do with signs tonight except the existing sign. Number seven is the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect which would be to A, allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district, B, to extend physically a non-conforming use of land, or C, to change the zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. Number eight, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. Number nine, the fact that the property may be utilized more profitable should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for variance. And number 10, in granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. And based on these findings of fact, the Board of Zoning Appeals may approve with conditions, or deny the request. So at this time, I will move back to number one, and how do we want to address the unnecessary hardship of this? Well, I guess it exists because it's basically Jiffy Lube said he's got to do it. Understand what the franchisee of Jiffy Lube just told us. And this is not something that the owner of the property expected, and neither did he expect Jiffy Lube to force him to come down here and ask for this variance. What say ye?
Well, I agree with that, and also I think that it's in an odd, peculiar location with the ramp and the easement and Laurel Lake. It's just as far as I can see, it's the only situation out there like that. And I think you're right about the franchise saying he had to do this, which was not something that was expected, I'm assuming.
Commissioner Burkholder, you got anything on that one?
I think Mr. Allworth's comments pretty well mirror what I was thinking. I had checked it off initially, but I agree that there is an unnecessary hardship if you're going to be able to use parcel 2 at all.
At all, right.
Did you look at this as maybe being a kind of a grandfathered situation? Because parcel 2, or that piece of land, that part of the property, right now, is conforming. This is all together.
Right.
And so, splitting it, could you say that it has some, or it had minimum lot frontage when it was combined with the other one? And so,
But I think the fact that it's vacant and possibly going to be something else, and Jiffy Lube doesn't want them to do that, they want it separate. And that's probably from a liability issue. I don't know if you could grandfather that in or not.
I'm just,
It wouldn't be a grandfathered provision because whenever it was originally done, it, like you said, it conforms now. So you're creating a non-conformity, and grandfathered items are non-conformities when the ordinances are changed.
okay.
So,
New ordinance are not gonna change any of this.
no, sir.
So we find that one okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree it's a hardship.
Number two, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. There certainly are. The location of it, basically end of an alley back there, and it backs up on one side to two sides, it backs up to an existing businesses, and on the fourth side, the federal highway.
Right.
I think we can find for that one.
I do have a question, and maybe this is just curiosity. There's a fence there that has a gate. What was that? Was that there when y'all bought the property? What was that ever for? That's just a question. I was curious. The gate to nowhere to, do you not know? Okay. I was just curious and I forgot to ask you.
All right, number three, the conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. I think we can all agree on that one.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm good.
Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Well, on that particular one, a little bit.
I'm assuming that the parcel one Jiffy Lube proposed building is, what they need size-wise. They don't have bigger facilities typically. And so, it, are they there now? They're not
Yes,
there.
it's
They are
there. Oh,
there.
yeah, it's
Okay.
up and running,
Okay.
yes, it's there. That, all that you see is built out. The only thing's not built out is the,
So apparently they bought what their franchising authorizations agreed to, which is what we see as parcel one.
But they owned parcel two.
They own.
they own,
Yeah.
the franchisee owns owned the entire parcel, 1 and 2, as we're looking at it on the map.
So they've got this whole section of, which has been relabeled as parcel two, that they're not using, except to, I guess, get over to where they are. So,
And when they came to us the first time, the intent was to build a Diablo's, and they actually started some of that work. And I guess the pandemic stopped it, if I'm correct. And then, evidently, Mother Jiffy Lube took a look at it and said, we don't like that situation, and that's why they came to you and said you need to separate these. And there's not enough property there to really truly separate it. So how are we gonna, is the parking okay for both places?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
As you notice in the survey, the parking and all was designed, and that was one site plan, and it was planned to have both of those in there.
Okay. And the planning commission approved all that in advance, so.
I guess with respect to this question, parcel 2 can't be created and utilized
Unless we do this.
unless we do
Right.
this.
That's correct.
Okay.
So that's the reason the hardship. Okay. So we're good with that one. The authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property or the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation or potential for the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. And I don't think any of that's happening.
No problem with
So
that.
that's no
Yeah.
problem. Okay. Number 6, we're not taking up signs at this point in time. So that's one is not being handled. The Board of I will go back to 6 and ask just a general question, not about signs and so much. But has the planning commission received and approved a plan for that parcel too?
I would have to go back and look. I don't remember if that went to the planning commission or not.
It probably
Um,
did because
be-
they've started construction. They've got some sewer and stuff
Right.
stubbed out.
But that may have fallen under the minor site plan approval, which staff does. But it did get
But
approval.
somebody approved it.
It got approved, and a building permit, I believe, was issued, and they started construction. You can see where they've got the underslab plumbing in.
All right, thank you. All right, number 7, the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance in effect which would be A, to allow establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district. We're not doing that. B, to extend physically a non-conforming use of land. We're not doing that. Or C, to change the zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. We're not doing that, so that's okay. Number 8, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. I cannot see where it's self-imposed.
No, I think it's Jiffy Lube and, doing this. I mean, the
Fringe.
mothership of Jiffy Lube.
You okay with this one, Kevin?
Yeah, I struggle with this one, but
You struggled with it last time also.
well, on this particular one, because the easy thing to do is say, hey, it's conforming now, they won't divide it, that makes it non-conforming. And that sounds like a self-imposed thing, that was the easy way to look at it. But, he's been driven by Jiffy Lube
Right.
corporate to do this. Okay,
That's the way I'm
Yeah.
looking at it.
all right.
Number 9, the fact that the property may be utilized more profitable should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for variance.
Well, as it now stands, I mean, if you don't or can't use that property, nothing's being generated out of it.
Right.
Any income. Technically, it's a more profitable utilization of that piece of property known as parcel 2 to grant the variance, but I don't see it as a proscription of the general rule of self-imposed. I mean,
I agree.
using something more profitably. We're basically being asked to grant a variance so they can use it at all.
Correct. Yes. So we're good with that one?
Yes.
All right, number 10, in granting a variance, the boards of zoning appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building structure or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. I'm trying to see what the staff recommended on that. And They recommended,
They had some recommendations.
yeah, they did have some recommendations. Here we go.
My paper is so confused.
All right, the staff's recommendation is this, if this variance is granted, it will apply only to the property and to the minor subdivision plat as submitted, so evidently had been submitted. The existing Diablo sign on the Jiffy Lube site should be removed. No, well, just stop right there. I think we should put the restriction or the condition on it that the existing sign, that the business that goes in on parcel 2 can use the space designated for Diablos at any future time that they need a sign, or something to that effect.
The current sign, because if you keep reading further in this recommendation, it says, should the existing sign need to be replaced, it should meet the requirements of the sign code in place at a time or request another variance.
Well, that would have to happen, correct, because that's by code.
So does he have to provide space for his neighbor?
In my
Is that what you're
opinion,
saying?
for the life of whatever goes on in that building, needs to have access to that sign,
Okay.
that he'll have a place to advertise his business. I'll ask the question of the owner of the property. You'll come down. Will you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name and address.
First name Joel Lamoth, first name Joel, last name Lamoth,
Yes.
200 Colonel Shaw's Way, North Augusta,
Um,
9860.
Do you have a problem with us forcing you to let whoever has that, whether you sell it or you build on it, use the bottom half of that sign?
Not at all. In fact, I want to say thank you for Mr. Chairman and the commission last time we were here. If we all remember correctly, that was part of the plan to divide it back then at the time, but the timing constraints on the Jiffy Lube to get this done and get it open, the time it takes to get this done, so, but yes, we could put the language in there. I could do a sign easement, an ordinance, a sign, whatever the language I need to put in there for, if in fact, if I do something different and or somebody else wants to buy that, vice versa. I think the sign in the very front, to me, would not coagulate the area with a bunch of signs just sticking up everywhere. I'm okay to have it up there. I think the visibility, and I apologize for leaving it up there, but due to COVID and everything that's transpired, we want to pull the trigger to get it built, but the timing's not. So we're going to pull the sign down for now, and we'll make sure that the language is in there to where in the future, whoever can have access to put the sign there, and we won't have to worry about.
So you'd be okay with blanking it at this point in time, and then letting whoever moves in there have the bottom half of part of that sign to use?
Yes, sir. I think that would be the best way for me, with the Jiffy Lube, me in the future with Diablo's and or whomever, and for the visibility for the sign. And like I said, it's not having respectfully based on the language, but it's so clean the way it is. The visibility for both parcels are there. I'm okay with it. We'll blank it out, and in the future, whatever we do or whatever it may be, we'll have permission and language in there to use that sign moving forward, whoever it may be, me or anyone else.
Is that something that you can put in the agreement that you were reading from a while ago? A place to put it? Well, we'll still add it as a condition. We'll still add it as a condition.
Yes, sir.
And you put it in there, and that would make sure it gets
I
done.
think it's better, as you say, it so you don't have another sign
Right,
out
we
there.
don't think we need that. It's so clean and pretty through there, and Mr. Chairman, based on last time we were here, you commended us, you said you thought that was kind of a dilapidated area, and the way that we cleaned it up and made it look, it's a really nice-looking location, and anything we do in the back, or anybody in the future, will be as tasteful as what it is today, so.
And we appreciate you doing that, and I just can't see not them having put a sign back there on that alleyway, and that'd be the only place people could see them.
Right, yes, sir.
Thank you,
Well,
sir.
yes, sir, thank you very much.
So is that second bullet good as written, or do you just want to stop after the first?
Second bullet, the existing, I'll read it again. The existing Diablo sign on the Jiffy Lube site should be removed. No off-site signage is allowed without a separate variance. That piece has got to come out of there.
That pertains to the to the Diablos.
Could I offer a suggestion?
Yeah.
Think of where you, think you're trying to go. Parcel 2, is designated on the plat, can utilize the sign on parcel 1, the freestanding sign on parcel 1, in any cross easement agreements with the sale of parcel 2 will include a sign, an agreement that authorizes that part of lot, that parcel to utilize parcel 1's freestanding sign.
Are you good with that, Mr. Burkhalter, our lawyer?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know if I can repeat.
I don't know that I can
Kevin,
repeat it,
you're
Mr.
going
Gaines.
Our motion makers over here having trouble writing that down.
So, okay, I'll read it slow whenever it comes.
Basically, parcel 2 can use parcel 1's freestanding sign in any easement that will be included in the language of any easement in the future.
And staff is open to suggestions for any other conditions from the board. I can't think of any other.
Well, you mentioned easements, is that the cross-access agreement? and
Correct, it
two
would be
of them?
included in that.
Okay, so we don't have,
You don't have to get into that.
we don't have to get into those.
If parcel 2's ever sold, he's gonna do that, and at that point in time, he would include it in there because it'd have a different owner.
All right, so we would only have these 3 conditions, the 2 bullets and then
You only have 2, I
the
believe.
2. Okay, we'll just
2,
add
yeah.
that in there. Okay, 2.
All right, any other discussion on this? We agree on all 10 of them. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, let me get my act together. Okay, based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application number ZV 23-001, North Augusta Jiffy Lube, a request by Joel Lamoff for variance pursuant to North Augusta Development Code Table 3-3, minimum lot frontage for the general commercial zoning district of the North Augusta Development Code for reduced minimum lot frontage be granted with the following 2 conditions. Number 1, this variance, if granted, will apply only to this property and the minor subdivision plat as submitted. Number 2, the existing Diablos sign on the Jiffy Lube site should be removed. Parcel 2 can utilize the freestanding sign on parcel 1 in any easement language included. Any other easement language. That sound right?
Does that sound right?
Yes.
Sound right to you? Okay, we have
Second.
a motion and we have a second. Do we have any other discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Approved unanimous. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time and effort, and good luck in your business. Okay. Item number 6 is ZV 23-012. It's a request by Stetson Corbett for a variance from setback for the urban zone lots from ordinance 2015-14 revised general development plan for Hammond's Ferry Plan Development. The application affects a single-family residence located at 434 Railroad Avenue, tax parcel number 007-13-16-003, approximately 0.11 acres zone planned development. I'll open the public hearing this time for the purpose of hearing and receiving public information. What can you tell us about this, Mr.
Mr.
Paradise?
Mr. Chairman, this is Hammond's Ferry plan development. So it's a little bit different than your side yard setback and rear yard setback that you normally see. But at the same time, it's the same thing. It's just that instead of going to the development code, you go to the actual ordinance for Hammond's Ferry that provides all of the zoning and requirements for them, which includes side yard setbacks and rear yard setbacks. So this was in ordinance number 2015-14, where they revised the general development plan.
I think you were showing us something else, wasn't you?
What's that? That gives you the parcel.
Okay.
But this is the one that I really wanted to show you. It shows how the lot is laid out, and the kind of the unique shape of the lot. It's kind of a pie shaped, and it backs up to an alleyway. This is what the applicant would like to do. He'd like to add on to his house, basically so they can move his mother in, is my understanding. That's the floor plan. So to do that, you'd have to bump out the walls, as you see there. And so what they're asking for is the current requirement in that particular area of Hammond's Ferry for side yard setback is 5 feet. They're requesting that it go down to 3 feet. So it would be 2 feet closer. On the rear, where they're putting the garage, they're asking to go, instead of 3 feet to the alleyway, to go 1.5 foot to the alleyway. And there is the alleyway behind them, so there's a break before another building. And I think this is the setback requirements from that ordinance where it's regulated. Any questions for me?
I hate to admit my lack of interpretation, but looking at this overlay, I mean, this plan as it now exists, but I suppose the 3-4 is the new addition or part of it. I was going to say I didn't see where
Yes.
it violated any of these setbacks, but I guess we don't really have a drawing that shows the property boundaries with the new addition.
Correct.
So-
I talked with the applicant about the presentation, and he made a good point that before he paid the architect and got too in the weeds with it, and invested too much money, he wanted to make sure that it was something that would be viable from the city's point of view. And of course, he will need to get Hammond's Ferry's Architectural Review Board their approval as well before it goes forward.
So what is in the 3-4 area now?
I think that's the current garage, but the applicant would be able to give you better information.
That's what I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah, it is. Any questions of Tommy? Would the applicant like to speak? Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
State your name and address, please.
Stetson Corbett, 434 Railroad Avenue, North Augusta.
And before you get started, I will not make a joke about mother-in-law suite, but that's a different story. So go ahead.
Well,
You must be a nice individual.
that's what it's going to be, yes, sir. Mr. Skaggs, yes, 3-4, and I'm going to have to go back and forth with the glasses so I can see there and see here. 3-4 is an existing carport structure. What we're looking to do is come above the 3-4 and expand it to the left, to the right, and to the rear. in order to put in a mother-in-law suite apartment so I can move my mom up there. We originally moved her closer to us in the North Augusta area. She's over on Metz Drive, so she's relatively close, but her health is deteriorating pretty rapidly. We're going to have to move her into the house. What we are looking to do, the current rules tell you that you can have a separated structure or you can have an adjoining structure. What we are looking to do is take the rules more or less from the separated structure and apply those to the adjoining structure. The reason for this is we need to put in a lift elevator, and we would like that accessible to the homestead as well as the apartment area in the back. The variance portion that doesn't fit in exactly with those requirements is asking to go 1.5 feet with the building, which would take the eaves and gutters on the rear right-hand portion up to where the alley is. But then on the left-hand side to the rear, we would be well within the requirements as they're currently written.
Because of the pie shapes.
Yes, sir. The pie shape is what's causing us a lot of trouble. If you look at the dimensions of the lot, the rear is 35 feet, which severely limits how wide across we can go in the back. And in trying to do different configurations, would be very appreciative if we could take the existing limits for a detached structure and apply those to the attached structure so we can have everything under roof.
But you haven't been to Hammond's Ferry with this.
Yes, ma'am. We've had some general discussions, and in talking with the board, I was directed to the city first. So y'all would be the first point of contact to be able to get approval. When I spoke with everybody at the Planning Commission before coming before y'all, one of the conditions of approval that we spoke about was having the neighborhood board approve what's going on as well. So eventually, they are going to be able to do that. But I thought it frivolous to go ahead and draw plans up if it were not to be approved here. It's very expensive to get your plans drawn for naught.
This is no different than when somebody is trying to get property rezoned, they come to us first with
Right.
for the variances that need, and then they go back and get the approval, so it's no different from that, so. Any questions from Mr. Corbett? Thank you, sir.
I have a question, not for you, Mr. Corbett, but for Tommy. How much weight does the private zoning, requirements carry with the city? I mean, if we don't, in other words, we supersede anything the Hammond's Ferry might say, is that what we're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
If you don't grant the variance, then they can't let them, we will not issue the building permit for them to build.
I just wanted to make sure that I had that
But
correct.
reciprocal, if we grant the variance, can they still stop the project?
Yes, sir, it will need to go through their approval process.
So jump through
Now,
this
that,
hoop
that,
first and then-
correct.
Yes,
This
ma'am.
first, okay.
That would be kind of a civil thing, but, yeah, the HOA would have a bite at the apple.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? I don't see
Well, I
any.
do, I have a question.
Okay.
How much of the new addition will infringe upon the setback? How much of the new addition will infringe upon the setback?
On the back? The side?
Both?
To the sides, the entirety of the structure coming down both sides would be at 3 feet
Okay.
instead of 5 feet. And then for the rear portion, as you're looking at the diagram, the top right-hand side would be part of what the variance request is. The top
left-hand portion would be well within what the current requirements are because of the slant on the alley.
Anything? That answer your question? Thank you, sir. All right, nobody else wants to speak. We have another question. I'm going to declare the public hearing adjourned. And we will take up the consideration. I am not going to read the 10 again and then go over them one by one. We're just going to go over each one of them at the time. So number 1 is an unnecessary hardship exists. The applicant states that requirements as written diminish the available square footage able to be built. The primary constraint of the unnecessary hardship is due to the configuration of the pie-shaped lot. The dimensions, as the rear of the lot is realized, greatly constrain the square footage of structure. By following the conditions of the accessory structure more closely, essentially space is gained. Staff notes that the interior side adjacent to another lot for the principal building is 5 feet minimum, 10 feet maximum within 30 feet of the front of the property line. For accessory structures, the minimum feet is 3 feet. The minimum setback is 3 feet. I think because of the shape of that, of his lot, I think that's why he has a hardship.
I have a question. Because it is going to be attached to the house, it's not an accessory structure.
Correct.
Okay. Now, if it was just separate, would Hammond's Ferry consider it, or would we consider it an accessory structure?
If it was not attached to the current dwelling, yes, ma'am, it would be an accessory structure. In fact, it would, in this case, it would be an accessory dwelling unit, and there's a section in our code that addresses
Okay.
square footage and
Okay.
stuff.
So there's a reason why he needs to have it attached.
Correct.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'm good.
Okay, number 2, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. The applicant states that the underlying conditions driving the additions to the house is the necessity to move the applicant's mother to his residence. The applicant's mother's health is declining, and as a result, the applicant needs to be able to have her close to them to aid in her care. The applicant needs maximum space to be able to accommodate certain ADA needs, including the installing of a lift under roof, which is accessible to both structures. The current setback requirements erode valuable space to allow her the best living conditions possible. Space is already tight without the variance, let alone the approval. Staff notes that the subject parcel is a single-family resident which utilizes maximum width possible with the current required setbacks.
Well, I think if we just look at the extraordinary exceptional conditions, it's a pie-shaped lot.
Right.
And there may be other pie-shaped lots down there, I don't know. But for those in that little area, I may be wrong, maybe they're all pie-shaped right there, but because they're pie-shaped, or at least his is, he can't do what he wants to do.
I'm good.
I'm good with that one. Okay. Now I've got to find the rest of this. You got it right there. Okay. Yeah, you did. Number 3. The conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. The applicant states that the other lots are not the same dimensional configuration as this one. Staff notes that surrounding lots are not configured the way as the subject parcel, with the lots not having a pie-shaped configuration.
Well, I think we just covered that.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yes,
So we're okay there.
I'm good.
All right. Number 4, because of these conditions, the application of the chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property, and the applicant states that the restrictions do not allow construction to utilize as much of the property as reasonable possible. Limited width due to the pie-shaped lot is challenging to the new construction but can be overcome by the variance. Staff notes that the lot is pie-shaped, with the lot being slightly wider at the rear of the lot. And I think that goes along with what we just said. Number 5, the authorization of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property or the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale, and the creation or potential for the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late-night activities. The applicant states that the variance request basically mimics the same characteristics of the accessory structure requirements. No detriment will occur to adjacent property, public good, or character of the district. Staff notes that the accessory structure requirements from Hammond's Ferry Plan Development Project Narrative states that the interior side adjacent to another lot is 3 feet, but may be 0.0 feet where there is a common wall between the buildings. If a principal building of the interior side adjacent to another lot, the minimum setback is 5 feet, with the maximum being 10 feet.
To me, I went along with that, considering we might have a condition. Talked about the modifications must be approved by the Hammond's Ferry Design Review.
Yeah.
To me, that kind of covers you there.
Right.
Yeah. You okay with that one, Bill?
I'm okay with that. When you were reading that, I think you said the shape of the lot, I think you said wider at the back, and you meant to say narrower.
No, it says in here, it says right here,
I think
I
I think
agree
it's
with you,
written
I think
wrong.
it's, but
I think it's written
it
wrong.
said that it's twice in here that that the staff says it's wider, but it,
It's narrower.
It's narrow.
Narrow in the back.
We just
yeah.
clarifying the record.
Number 6.
That's not-
That's signs, we don't worry about that unless you plan to put a sign up. Okay.
We'll share space with our neighbor, they can have the bottom half of the sign.
Okay, number 7, the zone of boarding appeals may not grant a variance, the effect which would be to, A, allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in the zoning district. We're not doing that. Setbacks requirements are outlined for general development plan for Hammond's Ferry. B is to extend physically a non-conforming use of land. Now, the variance doesn't do that. And C, zoning district boundaries shown on official map are not being changed. So we're not doing anything to that, so that's okay. Number 8, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. The applicant states that the hardship is created by the written requirements pertaining to the setbacks in the ordinance 2015-14. Staff notes that a hardship is created with the limited space available to accommodate the applicant's mother moving in and aiding with the mother's care. The applicant certainly didn't create this hardship, so we're not holding you liable for that, so I think we can find okay for that one.
I'm good with 8.
The fact that the property may be utilized more profitable should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for a variance. Staff notes that the fact that the property may be utilized more profitable is not the primary purpose. We have to agree with that. You'd have to sell it for it to be more profitable. Number 10, in granting of a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the locations, character, or other features of the proposed building structure or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. If the variance is granted, staff would recommend the following conditions. The variance will only apply to this property. The variance would require that the building footprint be constructed as conceptually shown in the exhibits, and the modifications must be approved by the Hammond Fair Design Review Committee. Are these three acceptable to you, sir?
Mr. Chairman, in the spirit of how they're written, yes, sir. I would ask if we can work on the wording for the second one. That is a conceptual design only for the structure. And I do not know whether the neighborhood might require that we come out and put a window here or, you know, add steps here or something like that. It may not be that exact drawing.
Mr. Chairman.
The footprint
But
would
the
be.
basic shell's gonna be.
Now, the footprint within the property, yes, sir, it would,
That's all we're talking about. is the
Okay.
footprint.
The footprint. Okay.
no problem, thank you.
We okay with that? With just those, anybody have any other conditions they want to add to it?
I don't.
So we're good with that. So, do I have a motion?
Yes. Based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application number ZV 23-012 Corbett Residence, a request by Stetson Corbett for a variance pursuant to ordinance 2015-14 revised general development plan for Hammond's Ferry Plan Development for reduced setbacks be granted with the following conditions, the three conditions. Number one, the variance will only apply to this property. Number two, the variance would require that the building footprint be constructed as conceptually shown in the exhibits. Number three, modifications must be approved by the Hammond's Ferry Design Review Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Motion carried. Unanimous. Thank you, sir. Good luck with you. Good luck with your building.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good luck with it.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the election of officers. And since I am being replaced by our mayor with someone else, I am not eligible to serve unless you elect me, and then you have to elect another one in January, so we won't do that. So, having said that, I'll open it up for the election of officers for 2024. I would take a point of privilege and nominate Kevin Skaggs as our chairman and Kathy Stallworth as our vice chairman, and elect them both at the same time.
Second.
Do I have any discussions, and you two can't say anything?
Okay.
We have a motion, and we have a second, and we have no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. No opposed. Congratulations to you two next year.
Thanks.
Adoption of the meeting schedule.
I have seen that in all these reams of paper, but I can't find it right this minute.
The
On
only,
the back? No,
Very
no.
last page.
Oh, I have no back page that you sent. I mean, I have it, but it's not in any kind of order now. Oh, okay.
the only question I had
Oh,
was,
wait a minute, I know, I put it here
next
for safety.
November is election day, right? That Tuesday? And that's the presidential election. I don't know if we want to do one on that same day or not.
That's probably a good idea. I'm not gonna be involved, but that's probably a good idea.
I don't know what's been done in the past, but look at the calendar, make sure I'm right. I think it's election day.
That would be the,
November 5th is election day.
Well, let's change that. Should we change it? I move that we change that to the 12th.
I second
Does that fit in with your schedule? I mean,
yes, sir, will.
you're You've got a planning commission meeting or nothing else that night, have you?
No, sir. Planning commission meeting would be the third week, so it should be fine.
It covers Masters Week too? I won't think about that.
Thought it looked good for Masters Week.
Look at April 2nd.
Masters Week is 11th, 12th,
Okay,
following week.
we're okay.
Y'all okay with that?
What day is July 4th?
Thursday.
All right, do I have a motion that we accept that
Mi-
calendar?
Mr. Chairman? All right, so in November, you're moving the meeting to November the 12th,
Correct.
1 week. All right, do you want to move the deadlines, staff reports, and application due dates a week as well?
I think you should, yes.
Just wanted to make sure we got that in the motion and what y'all wanted.
So, get a motion to approve the calendar?
You made a
Oh,
motion, didn't you?
I think the calendar, I move that the calendar be accepted with the exception of election day, of November 5th, that meeting being moved to November 12th, with the subsequent application due date and agenda issued moved a week later too.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Pass unanimous. Okay, anything else? I'm gonna take another point of privilege and, thank the citizens of North Augusta for putting up with me for a total of 27 years doing this, 4 years before and 23 years this time. And I've been chairman for 21 years, so, I've enjoyed every minute of it. You guys do an outstanding job. The mayor has someone in mind to put in my place. He's already told me that a year ago, and I wouldn't go, but I'm going this time. And I wish you luck, and I think that's
Thank
about
you.
it.
Well, I
Thank you for
wanna
your help.
thank you for
Thank you.
your help, and I hate that you're being replaced.
Well,
I concur, but I thank you for your service, Wesley. It's been, that's quite a record.
It is.
so anyway, you're in good hands. Tommy, thank you for all your help. I'm assuming we'll have one more meeting in December that I'll chair, but I'm not sure whether I will or not.
Well, when does and it's up to y'all, but when does this new chairman, when does Mr. Skaggs and Ms. Stallworth take office?
January 1.
So we will have a meeting in December.
We
Okay.
will,
So I'll still be here in December. Now, the mayor has the right to remove me in the morning if he wants to, and put the new person in. That'll be up to him. So if I don't hear that I'm no longer on the board, I will be here in December. Otherwise, I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Meeting adjourned.